Hey everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson. I have this beautiful guest today who's also a personal friend, Christie Gunter, who is the owner of a really cool store named China Baroque here in Houston, Texas. But she's also embarked on this new journey as a health coach and recently hit a milestone meeting a ranking of executive director, which is a huge accomplishment. So welcome, Christy. Thank you
Hi,
for being
Wendy.
here. I've missed
Sure.
you.
So thank you for having me.
Your journey has been so phenomenal to watch. We've known each other for years. We've been through all the ups and downs.
Yes.
And to see you really stepping into your power and just start thriving and just radiating and glowing and really, I think sometimes in life we go through this period, which I would call like the doldrums, where we're just kind of surviving our
Right.
life. We're just kind of showing up and we're kind of doing the things, and there's no spark and there's no magic.
Hmm.
And then something happens. There's like a trigger event that starts this unfolding and life transformation. And you don't know it at the time,
Right.
but you have the courage to take the step. So tell me a little bit about that. Like where were you? What was that pivot point or catalyst for you?
Well, what you don't know and what a lot of other people don't know is this is my second time on this program. The first time I started in January of 2020. And right about the 20-pound loss mark is when, as you know, Rodeo shut down
Mhm.
and life, because of COVID, and life kind of changed and dramatically shifted for me as I knew it.
Mhm.
I went into kind of survival mode, fight or flight. Um, Businesses were shutting down,
A lot of
mandated by
fear,
our government,
right?
our local government. So I felt like at that time I wasn't equipped to handle a pandemic. Um, who is, right? And so I think that I felt like, okay, my focus was going to be my business and not myself. So I put my weight loss journey on the back burner. And then, as COVID, just became more and more of a, horrific situation in our country, I think I just kind of threw my hands up and said, well, it's not my time. I, you know, it's not time to give up wine. It's not time to give up all the good food. It's time to live it up because,
Who
who
knows?
knows what's happening tomorrow.
Mhm.
That was kind of my demeanor at that time. And just the stress I think that I was under. I'm a stress eater. I'm an emotional eater. And so, of course, I gained all the weight back. I was eating out or, doing DoorDash every
Mhm.
day, just about. And um, we were just surviving. We weren't thriving, we weren't, really living because you didn't know what was coming around the corner. And so I just let myself go.
Mhm.
And then and of course, it affected my business. For people that don't know, I have a business that I take. Not only do I have a brick and mortar store, but I have a business that I take on the road. And so all of our shows were canceled. Like life as I knew it and had known it in my business for the past, 15, 16, 17 years was over. And I didn't really know how to deal with the onslaught of that. I didn't know how I was going to keep the business going, much less how I was going to keep myself healthy. And so, as fast forward to 2021, as life started to slowly creep back to normal, I had I never stepped on the scale. I didn't want to know what I had done to myself. I was, I didn't even, well, I did own a scale, but it was tucked somewhere that I didn't have to see it every day because I didn't want to know. I didn't want to take that first step on there to see how bad I had let things get. And so we were basically having one of our very first shows since the pandemic hit. And this was in October of 2021. And this bubbly little, and I say little because she's shorter than me. I'm shorter than average, but she's shorter than me. Bubbly little thing comes walking in my booth, and she had been a customer of mine before, and she needed to have her belt strap. She had bought a belt buckle the year before. She needed to have her belt strap made smaller. And anyways, we got to talking and got on the subject of her weight loss because I was like, what are you doing? Why is your belt so small? I mean, or so big. Why do you need to make it smaller? And so she started talking to me about the program, and of course, I knew about it because I had done it, a year and a half earlier. And she just had a different energy about her. Like she was boss girl. Like I'm kind of a boss girl, and I felt that chemistry with us. It's like she was no nonsense, put it out there, you know. And so she's like, let's be Facebook friends, give you my phone number, I'll text you every once in a while. Let me know when you're ready. She could tell in my eyes and in my heart that I wanted to do this, but in my mind, I wasn't ready. And I knew I needed to get to a place where I was ready to take the plunge. And so in February of 2022, I called her up. I woke up one day and I said, I can't look at myself anymore. The fact is that I had this crazy belief that nobody could tell that I was over 200 pounds. And in my mind, I was skinny, you know,
Sure.
in my mind, I was. In my mind, I looked, like I was still in my, early 40s or late 30s. But that's not what everybody else saw. And I couldn't see that. And then I woke up one morning and I realized, okay, we have to do something about this. And so I called up her name is Nicole. I called up Nicole and I said, I'm ready. And she's like, okay. And this was like, middle of February. And I said, I have to tell you what's going on in my life. I said, we're getting ready Rodeo is starting on February 28th. And at the time that I called her and about the time that my order was going to arrive, I was going to start on the Monday that Rodeo started. She's like, are you sure you want to do this? I said, absolutely.
So before you go on, for people who don't know about rodeo, maybe
Okay.
you can explain
Sure.
how big rodeo is for your business.
So Rodeo, I believe our rodeo is one of the largest rodeos in the United States, probably next to the finals in Las Vegas. And it lasts for 3 weeks. There are concerts, there are rodeos, it's a carnival, it's an entire shopping mecca on this giant campus, and basically take over, this huge campus where the Texans play, NRG Stadium, NRG Center, where the Astrodome used to be, or well, Astrodome's still there, but we don't use it anymore, but kind of in that general area. Basically take over that whole campus, and rodeo happens. It's food, it's entertainment, it's all kinds of fun things and tons of shopping. And of course, I have a booth there for 3 weeks, and with my jewelry business. And so it has brought me.
It's an
It's a
event.
huge event. We've been doing it. This year was 20 years.
Wow.
Right. I know. What a milestone. I can't. I mean, it's crazy to think that it's been 20 years that we've done rodeo. And it's been huge for us. We've gotten so much business so many wonderful customers over the years that keep coming back to us and shopping with us year after year. So it's really been a critical show to the growth of our business over the years. It's just phenomenal. I can't say enough wonderful things about it.
But also so much work and
It is
pressure.
a lot of work. It
Yes.
is.
Take this journey on right when you're taking that plunge into rodeo season is a big deal.
Well, one of the things that I thought to myself was, okay, I'm not going to be sitting on the couch snacking on stuff I'm not supposed to be snacking on. I'm going to be, I'm going to be in a limit. I'm kind of going to be in a bubble, if you will, of I'm going to be there from 10 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And I'm just going to be, I'm just going to be regimented. Like, this is my time. I just had this, I had this shift about how I wanted to approach the program this time around versus last time around. And I also had a coach that I was a little afraid of. I'm not going to lie. I mean, she was like, I knew she was going to hammer me,
All the
and
good are, we push you.
right, right, and in a good way. I needed that. I needed someone that was going to really hold me accountable, and I knew that she would. And so I think a lot of it was not only did I want to disappoint myself, but I didn't want to disappoint her either. So I started on February 28th, and by the following Monday, and I was one of these people that again, still didn't love stepping on the scale. So I was a weekly, I wanted to see, like, I didn't want to step on the scale every day. I didn't want to see little increments. I wanted to see the big picture, right? So I didn't step on the scale for a whole week. And when I got on that scale 7 days later, and I had lost 11 and a half pounds, I was over the moon. I knew that, I think I knew at that point that there was nothing that was going to stop me. This was it. This was the shift I needed. This was the results that I needed to make me stick to the program. There was so much more work to be done mentally and everything else, but it was just that, the momentum had built up, and the momentum was, I was going, and there was no stopping me. So, and I continued, and then, so rodeo lasted 3 weeks. Then we went directly to another show, which is in about an hour and a half from Houston. It's called Round Top. It's one of the largest antique shows in the country, and continued my journey. Brought my meals, and I'm sure we'll get into all the nooks and crannies of how the program works. But brought all my things with me so I could have you know have all of my meals with me. Um, and just continued on and continued to lose weight every single week. And then the day Round Top ended, which was 5 weeks into program, my mom went into the hospital and she never came out. And a month later, she died. And, most people would have probably said, okay, I give up. The emotional eater in me, the stress eater in me should have taken over and should have, undone all the things that I had already accomplished. But I was a different person at that point. And I'm very, I'm, while, I would never, ever hope that, my mother would pass away, I'm thankful that she did when she did at the point that I was in my journey, because at that moment, I was already becoming a different person. I was already doing a lot of the mental work that goes along with this program to help me deal with this situation. And of course, I had a wonderful coach who supported me tremendously. And I have a wonderful family that supported me tremendously. And it really helped me get past those, that horrendous moment in my life.
I'd like to ask a question about
Sure.
change in your mindset. So
Huh?
obviously your body was shifting and
Right.
what was going on mentally? What was shifting internally besides the actual weight loss for you during this process? What were you realizing about yourself? What was shifting in the narrative and how you were talking to yourself?
Well, you know, we've known each other for a long time. You know that I'm a very strong person.
Mhm.
And I've already realized after having this business for the last 21 years that I can handle a lot of things.
Yeah.
But what I did with them was I handled them internally.
Mhm.
And you know, I didn't outwardly let on that I was hurting or that I was struggling because I was a, I was the boss. I was a business owner. I had a facade to put on that life was good, even though I was, gaining, you know, tons of weight that didn't need to be gained. Um, I pray a lot
Mhm.
and I, I just realized that it's time to stop internalizing all these things. It's time to, it's okay to let my emotions, wear my emotions on my sleeve. Because internalizing them had gotten me nowhere
Right.
other than being miserable and, quite frankly, fat.
Mhm.
And so I just did a lot of soul searching. In fact, I really thought about a lot of the conversations that you and I had in previous times.
Mhm.
And there's been plenty of moments when I thought, what would Wendy say right now? Because you always had this intuition,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, you, on more than one occasion, you've reached out to me before I ever needed to reach out to you or thought I needed to reach out to you because you knew, like, you could tell something was going on in my life.
Yes.
And I don't know, I don't know I don't think it was just one thing that made me kind of re, you know, focus my energy or my decision making or my power. I didn't want to be that person that I was before. I She was strong, but she was struggling.
Right.
And I was struggling alone, or I thought I was struggling alone. And I I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be, you know, even though I was going through one of the hardest times in my life, losing my mom, I wanted to, I don't know, I think I realized that I wanted to have a long, healthier life to enjoy with my family, my son, my husband. Um,
Mhm. I
you
think
know,
sometimes when you go through a loss of that magnitude, losing a parent is so pivotal. Whether
right,
it was a good relationship, a contentious relationship, it has an impact on you in some way,
right,
right? And I think also it makes us really take stock of how how we're living our lives because you realize life is precious. We don't always stop to think about that every moment is a gift. Every encounter with with another human being is a gift. Every
Mhm.
every decision we make to support ourselves or not support ourselves is having an impact. It
Right.
almost just it forces you to pause for a minute and really take stock of where you are and how you're living, and think about, gosh, if this was the last day of my life for me, would I have regrets? Would I feel good about what I'm doing, how I'm showing up in the world, who I am? Am I being authentic? I think we have a lot of those little sidebars when we go through a trauma, like the death of a loved one. And then you go to the service and there's all the predictable family stuff, right? Everybody shows up as themselves and you're like, oh, this is how I ended up the way I am.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's like, oh, there you all are. It makes perfect sense. This is what I'm working on within myself to not be and
Right.
overcome, right? Is to be
Right.
a healthier version of myself, mentally, emotionally, physically, right? It's all reflected back. It's funny how when we get together with family, it's like, there you are again. I keep
Mhm.
being surprised by the people showing up as themselves.
Right.
There they are. So it's
Yep.
kind of a reflective time, is what I would say, right? To
Right.
go through that process. And
Right.
then you come back here. And what's so impressive to me is just such a short period into your journey, you had such profound transformation, which tells me that you had an amazing coach and guide who knew just when to push and just when to back off and just when to guide you and just when to let you go.
Right.
And that's some awesome sauce right there. When you've got
Oh,
someone who knows the struggle personally, so can relate to every phase of your journey in a supportive way. And I think the key is, this is what I've found, in whenever you're in a position of being a coach or a mentor or a guide, is giving that person the freedom to slide back, to be in their own lane, to do it their way, to have victories and defeats, and not be tied to it, because you know that their journey is their own and you're there to support and
right.
not control it. It's like
Right.
you have the experience, you have the tools, you have the supportive materials or guidebook, so to speak,
Mhm.
to offer people. But people also have to be ready,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. We talk about that a lot in our coaching world is that, you know, just like I wasn't ready the minute I met her,
Mm-hmm.
I had to get to that place where I was ready. And, after, and I'm still, I haven't even been coaching, I've been coaching just about a year, but I don't think I signed my first client till about 3 months after I actually, you know, got my coaching kit, if you will. Um, so I am very much wet behind the ears, but I also have wonderful mentors who teach me that I can mirror their behavior. And you know, I think, um, you know, the first of all, I love connecting with other women. I love, finding some relatability. I love meeting new people. And so, and then to be able to offer them something that's going to change their lives and make them happier and make them healthier is
Mm-hmm.
just an absolute bonus on top of it all.
Power and a joy in being in service
Right.
to others, and you've been so creative and brought a lot of joy through your custom jewelry business, of course, because of your magic and awesome sauce there. But there's something really powerful about really connecting with somebody and just watching them flourish, like for your coach to watch you. Not because it's not, it's just this incredible alchemy of their entire being. You just watch people. It's not really about the weight, but it's really about the journey and who they're
Oh,
becoming,
right,
through it. And so I feel like watching you through your weight loss journey, even just through social media and what you've shared, because you've been so vulnerable in your journey, in your posts, and I feel that is this beautiful, magnificent inner power and really the truth and authenticity of who you are coming through. Like you having the courage to fully walk your life as your authentic self and not have to put the fake smile on and pretend anymore, but to be able to be authentic and present. And what you don't realize is when you are empowered like that through your own inner work and your own journey, you are impacting so many people around you and you have no idea who you're
right,
impacting. You're going to go to Rodeo next year and people are going to be like, holy cow, whatever you've got, I want.
right.
Whether they're prepared or not. And I think there's also a real power in planting seeds.
Hmm.
So even just showing up as yourself, even just having little conversations. If you don't have the agenda and you're just like, I'm here to support whoever's ready, I'm just going to share my journey and cast out all these seeds. And, when they're ready, they're going to come. And I feel like you're going to be juggling two pretty full time businesses before you know it, you know.
Yeah. And I kind of thrive on a little bit of chaos. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not real good with um, not having a lot of things. I'm used to juggling a lot of balls in the air. Let me just say it like that. So adding one more thing, is just, it's typical of me. I used to say, I'm biting off more than I can chew, but what I'm doing and what I'm still learning to do is finding the balance to be all the things I want to be, because I can be a jewelry designer, a business owner, and a health coach all at the same time,
Right.
and a mom, and a wife, and a sister, and a friend, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if I find the right balance of everything. And that's what I love so much about this program is it's teaching me a lot of wonderful, healthy habits to incorporate into my life every day. And it's building, it's just the building blocks of, how to be all those things, but be a better version of them,
Of course. I
you
have a
know.
question because I noticed that as I changed and became healthier, it really impacted a lot of my friendships and not always in a positive way because a lot of people were triggered by my growth.
Mhm.
And I think as we become healthier and we make healthier choices in our lives, we adjust our lifestyle. Some people struggle with that. So I was wondering if you've noticed, obviously you don't have to mention any names, but if you've
Sure.
noticed shifts in your friendships because your lifestyle and your mindset and who you are has changed so much. You're going to inspire some and you're also going to trigger some, I would imagine, on that path.
I can honestly say that every single one of my friends who I deem close friends that, I call on a regular basis, hang out with on a regular basis, have done nothing but 100% support me.
I love
They
that.
have cheered me on. They have congratulated me. They have complimented me. They have, you go girl, love you, so proud of you. You
Right.
know, I am amazingly blessed in that regard.
I love it.
Um, I've cultivated, these friendships for a long time. And so at this stage of my life, I'll be 51 this year. You know who your ride or die friends are. you know? And I feel like a long time ago, I let go of those that, did not serve me in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I am so blessed that I surround myself by women who are encouraging, loving, supportive, you know, all of those things. So,
I think that's
I think,
an important part of the journey is having the right people in your corner, the
right,
right people that you're interacting with when you're going through a journey like this, because
mhm,
there are peaks and valleys, and you really need people to really rally around you and support you when you're in those kind of doldrums or you're in those
absolutely.
dips when that's life, right? But to have
And
people in that space that are
right,
really helping you navigate those feelings and those moments, being like, you can do it. Oh my God, it means
right.
so much, doesn't it?
It really does. And it, you know, because, I don't do well with negativity in general in my life.
Mm.
And so I try to surround myself by positive people that give me positive energy, you know, because I don't, toxicity is just, I avoid it like the plague, you know? And so I feel like I've grown a lot. I feel like I've done a lot of growing in my life, period.
Yeah.
But, you know, um, I think being a good friend and giving, having that be reciprocated is just, it's so incredibly important. And, my friends, my really close friend circle of my friends that live here locally, because I have my hometown friends too that I love and adore, but we don't unfortunately get together very often. But my really close friends here in Houston, we all the time remind ourselves how blessed we are that we have the bond that we do, because it fills our cup. And
Mhm.
it's just, we're there for all the great things in life, but we're there for all the hard things in life, all the
Mm.
journeys that we go through, both emotionally, physically, financially, whatever it is. You know, and we're fortunate that our husbands all
Get along and
get along and love each other and adore each other. The joke is, we used to have book club, and our husbands used to say, "Okay, y'all should just call it wine club because it's not book club." But we really did read and we really did discuss books. And yes, there was a lot of wine. So the men decided to start a men's book club, and it's just, they just they just named themselves their little group, the men's book club, even though they have
zero book.
never opened a book ever. But it was just kind of like a, well, if y'all can do it, we can do it kind
Mhm.
of
I
situation.
wanted
But
to
no,
ask you. I wanted to ask you how you. What have you learned about yourself? Going through this journey. What are kind of the core takeaways that you've learned about yourself, or maybe remembered? Because sometimes awakening and being on a journey back to ourselves is kind of a spiritual journey, but it's also a remembering of who we are because we've
mhm,
always been in there.
mhm,
That woman, that powerful, beautiful, sovereign being has always been inside of you somewhere. So, what have you learned or remembered about who you are through this journey?
I've always considered myself extremely strong, and independent, very independent. I left home at 17, went to college, then met my husband. And I mean, within 4 months of meeting him, I was, growing up in Louisiana. 4 months after meeting him, I moved to California, and a year after that, we got married. So I wasn't necessarily ever one of those people that went with the flow. If everybody else was doing it, I was probably doing something else. That's just kind of how I was. But you know, I feel like I learned how to take hard steps. I learned that I can't bury my head in the sand and expect things to change around me. And, you know, and it not affect me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I learned to be vulnerable.
That's
I
huge.
am
That right
such a,
there. Oh,
listen, listen, I am a very private person. My friends know this. My family knows this, you know, and one of the pieces of this coaching business is to really live your life out loud, both good and bad. And that was unbelievably hard and uncomfortable for me. And
mm-hmm.
I told my coach at the beginning, I'm like, I hate this. Like, there's no tomorrow. Like, this is the worst part of this.
Mm.
And, but when I started to allow myself to be vulnerable, to let people know that I am not the perfect person that you see on, all my Facebook posts, you know, that I too struggle. I I have an not an eating disorder, but I have, a food addiction, whatever you want to call it. It was, not sure what box it necessarily belongs in, but I had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I had a problem with, relying on wine to make me feel better. I had a problem with relying on food to make me feel better. And I ignored all the signs around me that told me you've got to make a change. You're, I was miserable with myself, so I was outwardly miserable to people around me.
Sure.
And you don't even realize it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't realize until probably after my mom died and I had lost, by summer of last year, when I had lost probably around 35, 40 pounds, is when the internal shift started to happen. Because our personalities are very much tied to what's going on in our guts. You
Yeah.
know, it's tied to what we're eating, how we're sleeping, how we're taking care of ourselves. And and Natalie, our friend Natalie, our mutual friend Natalie, came in my store one day and she said, "You're different. Like I can just, like I can see it." And I felt it, but I didn't know how to put my finger on it. And until I heard it from someone else saying, I really can see the change in you, both physically and mentally, it really started to, the cylinders started firing for me. And I really started realizing that I am, I'm transforming before my eyes in so many ways that I hadn't even really, I guess, realized up until that point. So, with all that said, because I am I never answer a question with an easy
One word.
answer, one word. You know this about me. I'm long winded.
I do. Keep
Um, I've learned some incredible, things about myself that I can handle a lot at one time, but now I can handle them with grace. I can handle them with ease. I can handle them without reverting back to the bad habits that I had before. And that this program has taught me how to incorporate healthier habits in my life, how to deal with stress eating, not letting stress eating, take control of my behavior. Because amidst all the chaotic things that happen in our lives, and let's face it, they're never going away. There will always be roadblocks that, we may not see them, but they're there. We can control what we put in our mouth. And that is the one thing that I can wake up in the morning and go, okay, today's a different day. I don't care what's going to happen, but I can guarantee what's not going to happen is I'm not going to go stop at the fast food place and grab some fried chicken and a hamburger or whatever and stuff my face to make myself feel better. She's not here anymore. So that I know for sure because I can control that one thing I can control.
I think
And
ultimately, that's all we have control over is ourselves and how
mm-hmm.
we respond to whatever's showing up. But what I love about your path and your journey is that you're not only learning weight loss tools, you're also learning how to process stress and emotion. And that's, I think, a key part because people can do the weight loss program all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You don't address and lose the weight, but you can put it right back on if you don't address that emotional component because that is a
Right.
huge driving factor behind not only weight gain, but illness, disease, just all the other things. And, an adrenal system that's going haywire or, you name it, right? It's
Right.
all a manifestation. Everything I talk about is energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so all that energy of suppressing emotion and not processing and not looking and not being really authentically honest with ourselves, that energy goes somewhere
Right.
and it can go to your thighs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Or,
it can.
or
Or
it
your
can go to the
waistline.
wine bottle. It can go to the shop, the crazy shopping addiction. It can go to whatever it is. And I think it's really important to say that it's not a character flaw at all. It is a desire not to feel pain.
Right.
It's not a mistake. It's not something to be shamed. It's not something to feel bad about, but it's really a desire not to feel something uncomfortable. And so
Right.
people develop that thing that temporarily band-aids masks or numbs the feeling in whatever way. You get that little dopamine hit from
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. But I really think it's important that people know that this isn't a shame story. It's about a pain story. It's about an emotional wound or program or response that needs to just be looked at and healed and put a balm in there, and be given the healthy support and be given a safe space to really process those feelings, those doubts, those insecurities, those, really vulnerable and raw things. That's such an important component and also have the plan that
Right.
that works hand in hand. So, Christy, what is the best way for people to reach you if they're interested? Because I'm sure with Zoom, you can coach people all over the country or all over the world, even.
I
So, what's
can.
your best contact?
So people they can DM me on Facebook under Christie Linson Gunter, or they can email me at Coach Christie G2022 at gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. I'll put
And
that in the comments. And
yeah,
um, I can just say you've been a true inspiration to all of us watching you just transform your life. I've always thought you were beautiful, but
thank
there's
you.
just this glow and radiance about you now. It's like you're just fully coming out, the true, authentic Christy, not the tired and burned out Christy. And I'll tell you, she has just is lit a fire. I can tell in all aspects of your life. So I just want to congratulate you on just this incredible accomplishment.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It has been a pleasure to know you, to go on so many different journeys with you over the years. And you're so warm, and it just does my heart good to talk to you. It really does.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful connecting. And I always ask this towards the end of the conversation, but if you were to give someone who is in the space you are in when you were ready to start this journey some advice on, a coping tool or something that helped you through that really dark time that really kind of held you and carried you through, maybe before you made that full commitment, but you knew you needed to,
Mhm.
what would that be? What would that look like?
I would just say that think about if you were writing a letter to yourself, if you could look back on your life and you were writing a letter to your, self and you were younger and you could see in the future and know what was ahead of you, what would you tell yourself? What would you express to your knowing what you know now? What would you say? And would you be happy with the way your life has turned out? Would you be happy with your situation right now? Would you be proud of yourself? Would you be, um, you know, encouraged by, where you are in your life? And if you're not, if the answer is no to any of those questions, then you've got to, the first step is hard, you know, I'm not going to lie. I sat on it for several days, probably weeks, knowing that I needed to make a change. But it was just, I prayed about it. I really did. Um, I thought about what life would look like 66 pounds different, which is how much I've lost. I had no idea it would be as good as it is. If I had known then what I know now, I would have started it sooner. And that is probably my only regret is that I did not take this leap sooner. Um, because you really have nothing to lose and so much to gain in this, when you start putting yourself and your health first. It is, it is life altering. And I really am a different person than I was. I am a different person than you knew me then. I
Mhm.
mean, I have the same qualities and all those things, but I really am changed and transformed. And,
It's
thank
beautiful. It's
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
And I always, a wise friend once said to me, I wish I could take credit for this, but she said, if not now, when? And I go back to that often. If
Listen, one of the things that, in our women's group that we used to have that there's so many things that I took away that were powerful and, I'll never forget. And it sounds a little cliche, but, and I put this in my phone, you know, you're one decision away from a completely different life. And it is so that those little words strung together are so incredibly powerful because it is so true. That decision that I made to call up my coach and to say yes to this program changed my life. And when I get off the phone with my clients who are, I have a new client that just started this morning, I tell them tomorrow is a new chapter.
Mhm.
It is. And if you see it that way instead of, you know, and listen, we want you to see, we want you to take little bites of this program every day, right? No pun intended. But the big picture is that this is a gift. You said yes to receiving this gift and it is going to change your life. And it might be you know, 2 pounds a week, might be 5 pounds a week, it might be 10 pounds a week. Everybody's journey is different, but you will be better on the other side of it, having gone through it in whatever way that looks like.
Mhm.
And when my clients, tell me how much weight they've lost and I can hear it in their voice, I can feel the smile coming through the phone and they tell me how proud they are of themselves. I tell them how proud I am of them and they say, thank you. You're a huge inspiration, motivation. There's nothing like that. And I can't, people can tell me thank you all day long for making them a beautiful piece of jewelry that's sentimental and all those things, but I'm not changing lives. This is 360 degrees different feeling for me that I didn't know I needed, wanted, or could even encompass. So, um, and it's still transforming me. My growth is not done. My journey is not done.
It's just begun, really.
It's just beginning. This is just a different chapter in my book.
Totally. Totally. Thank you for that. And to my audience, thank you. Just thank you for being with us today. I know you're going to have some awesome takeaways from Christie's journey. Take care of yourselves, love yourselves, and I love you all. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.